Hello, creative fam. I made a lovely Christmas Wonderland display box. I want to share with you guys what I love most about this is I can plug in Christmas lights. I ran Christmas lights through this glass box so I can leave it on night after night and not ever have to worry about replacing batteries. To make this winter wonderland scene, you want to start out with 5 of the same size picture frames. Now you can use any size you want. I'm going to show you guys how you can put this together and be able to add plug-in Christmas lights. So this way you won't have to worry about changing out batteries. I wanted to go with these larger picture frames, the collage frames. I removed the backing, the metal tabs, and the glass from all the frames. I spray painted the fronts of them white. And actually, I should have painted front and back. I later had to add acrylic paint to the backs of them. And I also used some adhesive gems on the front. Now you'll only need to add gems to 4 of the frames because one of these frames will be laying face down. So paint all your frames front and back and decorate only 4 of them. Then you'll want to secure your glass into place, and I used hot glue. Then I placed my glass inside the picture frame and went back around once more with another bead of hot glue. And you'll repeat this 4 more times. Just as you would if you were building a box, you'll lay one of your frames face down and then you'll stand the rest of them up. But for this, we're just going to stand 2 of the frames up and we're going to line them even from corner to corner with the center face down. And we're going to go ahead and glue those into place with epoxy and hot glue for that instant hold. Now, these are pretty big frames and these are kind of heavy, so I kind of felt like it needed just a little bit more stability. So I used some of the wooden Jenga pieces or the tumbling tower game out of the toy section of Dollar Tree. I glued those so the picture frames would be connected to each other with a piece of wood from frame to frame, making it so that these wooden blocks are like a brace. You could also use dowels here if you'd rather. But you do want to be sure to lay your Jenga pieces facing down. You don't want to stand them up. I did that to one of mine. It was too late. I couldn't reposition it. I also added glue to the seams on the inside where the frames meet in each of the corners. And again, I also added a wooden dowel to secure those corners just a little bit more. And again, this is to ensure, like, if you bump it or something happens, it won't fall apart. Only the first 2, you're going to line those up so that they're even with the face down frame from corner to corner. Now, on the other 2, you're going to line those so the frames overlap each other on the 2 side frames. So if I had my frame here instead, it would make, the perfect lantern or the perfect square, and all my frames would meet all the way around. But if you line it here, you're going to lip over the edge of one of the frames we had already glued on. So it's going to lip over the edge. And that's really what we want because it's going to create a gap. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Now we need to seal our gap. And I used a square dowel from a pack of dowels I purchased at Walmart. I thought about this later, but those Jenga pieces would have probably worked out just fine. You want to make sure to leave yourself enough room at the bottom so you can run your lights through the glass box. I had to trim my dowel just a fuzz. Of course, I painted it and I glued it into place, and that's all there was to it. Now, just remember to line up to and overlap to for the fun part. It's time to decorate, and well, I need to conceal the build, and for me, I need to cover up that awful paint job. To cover the corners, I went with some small silver garland. I twisted some silver and white beads in the garland. Now, the small white beads, those came from Hobby Lobby. I glued these to the inside corners. I had to add another piece of garland inside the corners just to kind of fill them out a little bit more. And then I went around the top of the inside of the picture frames. Next, I flipped my box upside down and I cleaned the glass and 4 of these glass candle holders. I glued a candlestick in each corner to give our display box some legs. Once I had time to sit for a little while, I flipped it back right side up, and I'm getting ready for my snow. I used this soft car wash cloth from the auto section of Dollar Tree. I folded the top over and I glued that seam with hot glue. Then I just glued that down in the bottom on the bottom frame, and I didn't realize how much stretch this would have, so I ended up doing this the hard way. I had to fold and glue the seam, then glue it to the bottom as I went. um, I really kind of thought that I would need two, but knowing what I know now, how good this fits, what would be better or easier is if you would glue the cloth down to the frame before you even build the box. So that way, when you put it together, you won't even have to do this part. Next, I run two strands of lights through my glass box right in that gap we just made, and I add a mirror from this decor frame from Dollar Tree. And if you can't find one of these, you can use like a 5x5 mirror. Then I decorated the inside with all Christmas stuff, from Christmas floral to Christmas ornaments. Everything that I used, I glued it down into place with hot glue. And I'll leave everything in the description box that I used for my winter wonderland scene. And I'm going to show you guys also how I made the mirrored Christmas tree. So to start off, I used three of these silver trees. They have factory creases, and I use that as a guide to make my cuts. I cut each one on the second line. I added glue to the bottoms of what would be the tree trunk, and I put those in the very back. And to keep them standing straight up, you'll barely have to add any glue to like one of the limbs, and then hold that up next to the glass until it's dry, and then it's not going to go anywhere. Now, again, from the floral section, I found these what looks like silver Christmas trees. And by the way, Dollar Tree has them in gold and in red. These will just pop off the floral stem very easy if they don't fall off first. And I glued five of these inside of my box. I glued three right away, and then later on, I ended up adding two more. I placed two deer in the back corner, and I have an angel on the other side. I have two miniature mirrored snowman in the front of my Christmas tree, and those come two to a pack. I used a few of these snowflake ornaments, some of the round mirrored bulb ornaments. I scattered a few loose gems across the bottom, and I hung some gems on the backs of the trees and along the side of the box. I actually could have used the clear LED icicle lights that Dollar Tree has now instead of the gems. I also placed a silver metal snowflake right on the outside of this display box. And I made a mirror Christmas tree for the centerpiece of this Wonderland scene. And I set that on a round mirror that I had glued to a piece of round foam. And I covered the sides of that foam with diamond wrap. Now, to make the mirrored Christmas tree, I used a foam cone from Dollar Tree, and I glued mini mirrors from top to bottom all the way around the cone. I got these mirrors from Ornaments from Dollar Tree, and the trick to removing these mini mirrors is staying away from the ornaments that has the glitter on them. Just going to remove these off the ornaments with the regular foam. They'll come off pretty easy, and for the most part, you can keep most of them intact. Now the balls, the balls they have, the ornaments with the glitter, those are much harder to reuse to me anyway, because those mirrors were laid over Mod Podge or something similar to Mod Podge. They're stuck on those pretty good. So I went with two of these Santa hats, and then I had some disco balls. I was just going to make a few mirrored stripes going around this cone, but I only had two hats, and even with just two hats, I still had so many mirrors left over. So then I just kept going, and then it wasn't enough, so I ended up using the disco balls to cover the cone completely. And that's it for the mirrored tree, and that's it for this winter wonderland scene. I hope you enjoyed this DIY project. Everything will be listed in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and this week's quote comes from Sonja Evans. Her says, "Practice makes progress because nothing is perfect." Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week with another DIY project. I love you, and blessings to everyone.